Hi, welcome everyone to Digital Transformation Consulting. I am Kamakshanathan. Today we will be covering the topic of selecting the right conference technology, and this agenda will be the introduction of the conferencing technology and why it needs to be selected. And if you see the current problem statement is, if any type of organization across banking, healthcare or retail want to implement the conferencing technology by bringing the employees together to collaborate and uh, to work together through a video or audio chat, okay, and the current organization does not have the facility to do that, okay. So this sessions will not be restricted only to the which has zero facility. uh, this session will be useful for organizations which does not have complete facility of uh, conferencing technology, or if they have partially imparted the conferencing technology, or if they have complete conferencing capability and if they want to change it to some other technology. So this can be used across any kind of domains like banking, healthcare, retail, airline, insurance, for any industry. So there is no restrictions of the particular domain. And we will also look after when to evaluate this. So when is your organization ready to do this, and what is the geographic compatibility of bringing everyone together through a video conferencing technology, and what are the functional considerations that you have to do when you are implementing the conferencing. And finally we will look into the detailed aspects of technical considerations like network and client support and integration with the other functionalities and security and authentication factors to be considered, and what is the final exit strategy that needs to be implemented when the particular technology is involved and after 5 years it becomes obsolete, and when you want to exit, what is the factors that you need to consider while you are imparting the new technology. So let's touch upon the introduction. So every organizations, like they might be segregated into regions, territories and branches, where the employees work across the organization, across the branches and the regions, and there will be a weekly meet or monthly meet or a quarterly meet for along with the MD or with their CEOs or with the regional heads. Usually if there is a quarterly meetings, people used to travel to their places where they bring together. So this will avoid the uh, transporting facility. Like you can reduce the air tickets of the senior persons who travels thrice a week or 4 times a week, where the only agenda for them to bring together and you explain them the different strategies and the implementing and the various progress of the sales meet or etc. So this, in order to cut all these expenses, there is a place where we need to implement this conferencing facility which reduce this particular expense and make sure that we all align with the same vision over the organizations together. So there are different meeting solutions available for an organization. One is the standalone meeting solutions, where a person want to speak to an employee, want to say, for example, the team leader want to speak to his team lead who is located in Virginia and the team lead is in Ontario. So in that case, if they want to meet together through a conferencing facility and share the progress of particular activity, they can do it. So this is standalone meeting solutions. And unified communications is nothing but there will be different types of communications like chat, voice, mobility, audio, web conferencing, video conferencing, etc. And work stream collaborations also need to be considered, like group messaging, which blends in real time, and other asynchronous communication will also be taken into considerations, which is a complicated uh, way of collaborations which drive the changing of the meeting habits altogether. And most organizations are using multiple meeting solutions like internal chat and collaborations, external meeting solution, and video conferencing technology. So there are few vendors on the right hand side which I have mentioned on video conferencing. There are few uh, product owners who could actually readily implement their products for all these solutions. Now the next question is, which meeting solution is right for the organizations? In our previous slide we saw there are a lot of meeting solutions. Now you need to decide what is the solution that is right for the current organization. Probably I should evaluate when should I look for implementing this facility. So now when to evaluate? So there is a lot of selection criteria which is given on the funnel. First is the technical readiness, and we need to look at the functional mapping where there are different roles for the organization and what kind of collaboration channel they should be using, and the geographical compatibility. It is not only just the uh, it's not an easy thing to connect within from different countries to different countries if the organization is completely at a global level. And when to evaluate, what is the right time to evaluate, and what are all the exit strategy, and what is the usage and the impact, and what is the means, like what is the adoption strategy, and what is the usage frequency and things like that. Based on that we have to procure the licenses, which involves cost. Now we will look upon when to evaluate it. So first thing, you do not limit the evaluation to product release cycles. Like when I say product release cycles, you know it is like there may be teams from Microsoft now, and tomorrow it may be wide. Okay, so don't look at the product release cycles alone, or for the depreciation schedules for the organizations across an year. We should always look at the means of evaluation from a thresholds like during attrition time, and what is the growth that the organization is seeking, and what is the cost, and what are the various workflow changes that is going to happen, and is there any regulatory or compliance to be adhered while implementing this, and what is the construction cost for building this, and all this we need to evaluate it. And mainly we need to check for the facility to scheduling, joining, and document creation. When I say document creation, it is like how to share the meeting notes, or how to share a presentation, and how to put it around like a version control in a documaker kind of thing. So, and how these meetings should be tied to it, like a SharePoint kind of thing. And it has to work with the existing infrastructure. So you cannot change the whole infrastructure just for means of implementing the video conferencing. And the solution should be easy to scale. So today, if my employees are using only say for 100 to 500 employees are using it, and when it has to be scaled in 6 months time, when it has to be scaled more than 2000, and what is the additional cost or infrastructure that needs to be taken care. It is not just that I need to again revamp the whole infrastructure to do it. So it will be just an incremental cost or incremental infrastructure to procure it, and the solution easy to scale. And the final one is the cost, which we need to look into, where we have to speak with different vendors or different products to see what suits best for the organization. And now let's look at the geographic compatibility. So when I say geographic compatibility, if the organization is scattered across different countries or different continents, in fact, for example, take Microsoft, so which is scattered across US, South America, Europe, Asia, APAC, and Australia. For an example, if a team lead who is working in Chicago has to speak to a person who is in Australia in different time zones, so how the the networks, how the network should be arranged, and it should have a capability of considering the local PSTN calling and conferencing also. When I say local PSTN, that differs with the different countries altogether. So we need to look at the PSTN integrations or the network integrations in a different countries and what is the definition for them. And we need to also look at the local network ingress, like inbound packets, what and all packets we need to allow. For example, Russia and China does not allow the ingress, the network ingress, and what is the the reason how it could be taken care in those locations. And also we need to look at the cloud and the the traversal part of, and the network packets traversal part of it over the internet. And next one is the data center locations, where in different continents there may be the nearest data center locations, and from there, if there are 50 branches in that country, how it could easily it can be the traversing will be made. And if it is a remote area, how the network packets will be traversed, will there be any increase in the latency? See, the delay should not induce the or inject the latency because of the distance. So the data center should be placed in such a way that, or the network packet should be placed in such a way that it could be, it should not induce any latency, and the turnaround time will be good. And the provider global WAN network. For example, if a person from Mexico has to speak to an Indian company, the network, if you see, it cannot be definitely in WAN, or it can be in WAN based on the organization capability. And how the packets will reach there. So will it reach over through Europe, or it is there is a direct packet connectivity to India, or it has to reach through Singapore? What and all considerations to be taken care also has to be needed to look into this evaluation. And now let's look into the functional considerations. When I say functional considerations, there are the collaborative, which is the most common way of sharing the meeting, and there will be a set of participants who could collaborate. There may be scheduled collaborative meeting. For example, I need to have a meeting on Wednesday 8 o'clock, where all the region heads and the branch heads need to speak together, which is scheduled, and there may be continuous meeting scheduled, where through a video call or through just an audio bridge, something like that. And there can be ad hoc collaborative meeting, where an MD or a CEO can sit inside a room, just connect with his own bosses and things like that. And there is a training meeting which can be arranged at a head office, and this training can be happening across the branches. We need to see how the latency and how the collaborations through the video things are going to happen. And there is something called as presentative, which has a significant impact for the organization. The attendees may or may not be the employees, it may be public also. So there is a general event presentation meeting, where the MD may present the complete set of strategies for his shareholders sitting in a different place. And a high productive presentative meeting, which is like a the shareholder meeting, or the MDs addressing towards all the employees. So there are different meeting types, and this solution which you are going to set up needs to address all these functional capabilities that are required. And second thing is, you should not get into a trap during the selection process based on the feature parity. So when I say feature parity is nothing but the new technology or the new product which has n number of features into it. Say there are like 50 features into the product, but we don't need all those 50 features, and the functionality which I may need may not be in that 50 features. So don't get trapped into the feature parity. uh, I may need things to happen in one click of a button, but the product, for the critical example, if you take a product, you need to copy one of the link from the email and paste it in the video, the VC, which if the product is not supporting, then it is a problem, right? And there should be a platform considerations also, where like if I have few things, I have already implemented a few things, and the product which may have the duplicate feature which I don't need now, okay, is also a major consideration. And the administrative burden, and the product whatever supports is going to have a different administrative burden, or as two or three resources or associates need to look at it. So that is why how my organization is taking care of the capacity which my organization need is what the product should support. And now let's look into the technical considerations. When I say technical considerations, the first thing comes to my mind is the network. So the network, we just say increase the bandwidth and every problem gets resolved. No, it is not that case. So we need to look at the egress strategy. Egress is nothing but the outbound packets which is traveling out of my network. Okay, so do I have a complete security control over it? And what is the network strategy do we have? Whether do we have a local peering, or the remote peering, or does it connect with the internet? So this local peering is, when you say there are thousands of different places where this could be where this has been implemented, and resolving DNS will be very quick in case of local peering, and the packets which we can control over the internet, over the local peering, where the turnaround time will be very fast. And also we need to look at the latency which we which will be induced during the remote peering, which is nothing but the backhauling. Backhauling is nothing but the point where all the packets converge and then it will be transferred. So obviously, when the packet needs to be converged to one point, the packets needs to be transferred, as automatically it will inject a few latency to it. So we also need to look at the network considerations. And this, you see the local peering locations, how good it has been explained. So all the connectivity between the east and the west US is connected through the local peering, which means that the network is easily transversing through the network. Hence the WAN, if we have WAN across the organizations, branches and regions, where we can completely control the packets, which will avoid the latency. And if the data center is located nearby the branches, that also improve the packet transmission. And now when we look into the public internet, if instead of WAN, if we have a public internet, the package is out of my control, and I don't know whether how the encryption mechanism is implemented, and the packets traversal may not be as quick as I have in WAN. Hence that needs to be considered. Now the next point we need to look at is the client support. When I say client support, it is the end users who is having the devices to connect to the networks, like the desktop. When you say the desktop client, the PC and Mac supports most of the video, audio, web conferencing facilities, and Linux is not supported much in the organization. And whereas the browser support, if you see, normally all the major browsers like uh, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Firefox, UC browser, Safari, they do support all uh, the networking conferencing facilities. And the mobile application, if you say the mobile application, it is not only the app which is used to connect to the internet to connect to a conferencing facility. It is also the PSTN, how does it supports, and also the room systems, the VCs. If I have video phones or 10 to 15 video conferencing facility in my organization across the regional branches, uh, all the all the video and VCs should be tightly coupled and connected to make calls at any time. And also we need to look at the annotating facility. When I say annotation facility, uh, the CEO or CXO, when they want to present something, they can annotate, and how this will be projected to the other end users. Okay. Also, we need to look at the dial in inbound and outbound solutions. So when I say dial in, if I don't have the PSTN, when I want to dial an inbound solution, inbound calling, that should also be possible. And when I dial out, that should also be possible. I can just ask a number to call me at this point of time during a meeting. So, and all these things should be tightly integrated with my Outlook, okay, and whatever the calendar facilities that I have for my email client. And next comes the integration. So when I say integration, integration is not only just the video conferencing, and out of the external things that I say, like video teleconferencing, it can be a direct integration, or it can be a VC meeting room endpoint, it can be a PC, or a third party integrations used for recording, and one click to join the meeting. So there are like several third parties which can be integrated along with it. And for example, Skype for Business, and there should be different vendors who could actually connect to Skype of Business for business, and Cisco or Yammer, or whatever it is. Okay, Facebook, Facebook Workplace. So, and there is something called as an external equipments, where I have procured few external equipments like video calling or audio, or I have my speaker systems in my room, in my office room, and how to connect to it. And not only that, it is also the third party software where I used to register, and for reporting purpose. When I say reporting, my conferencing facility should be connected to the content driven network. Okay, and if I have any content management solutions also, the data should be passed to it. And how does it connect with the PSTN or PBX? When I say PSTN or PBX, there are few countries where they don't register the PSTN specifically, which allows the outbound communication, which we need to look into. And we need to also look at the solutions of implementing it on premises or on cloud. So obviously, if it is on premises, the latency and the performance will be very good compared to cloud. But there are few advantages over the cloud, okay, where I don't need to have so my security strategy is, if I am not exposing my network out of my network environment, then going for a cloud is always better. Now let's look at the authentication and security aspects. So when I say authentication, it is the Active Directory, how my login will be made through, it could be through a closed system or a single sign-on, or what is the directory structure does it have it, or what is the role it is going to play, what and all functions or what and all capacity do I have to connect with the video conferencing, whether do I have facility to host a meeting or I have facility to call a video conferencing with my CXO. So all these facilities needs to be identified for the role and the role mapping and the uh, rights to the features that exist with the conferencing product. And it also includes the policy and inheritance, which I just spoke about, and it should be the local to solution. For example, if I have the base permission and which overrides the policy A and policy B, and there will be an individual user permissions also. So all these permissions needs to be taken care by the solution which is going to provided by the vendor product. Also, we need to look at the encryption part when the data passes over the internet. So automatically there is a chance of the hacker decrypting, or if this doesn't have any encryption mechanism, where is the encryption mechanism is added. We need to look at whether it should be added onto the firewall, or at the software to the cloud, or to the device which does the encryption. So there are different places where you can do this encryption mechanism, and how does your security compliance is going to handle it. I'm just showing the magic quadrant, Gartner's magic quadrant, where I see few of the things in the leaders in the market, which is Cisco, Zoom and Microsoft. Okay, and there are certain features, and depends on the cost, we need to find out which is the better way to connect to. And this is just for your reference purpose. This is the data as of August 2018. And finally we are coming to the exit strategy. What is an exit strategy? If I brought the solution and 5 years down the road I need to upgrade, or I need to move to a different strategy, or I need to move to the different vendor where the current vendor solution is obsolete, or the vendor itself is closing the or shutting down its organization. So what should I do? How do I get out? All these answers, solutions for the problem should be verified. Okay, what if I need to switch? Where will be my information stored? And if my information or recordings are stored in MP4 or in a different format like MPA or whatever format it is, how should I if I have 60,000 recordings in my 5-year time period, and what is the information that can be converted, or does it support? We need to leave all these. What happens to my information when I leave? Will it be converted automatically, or will it support? And the next thing is, when I leave, what is the impact on my users? Should I have to give them training one more again, or it is just going to be a single click as they did before? And what is my adoption criteria? Okay, that is the very important thing. The challenge in incorporating this conferencing facility for a non-IT profit, or for a non-IT organization is usually the people tend not to use the new technology. Okay, so there should be a proper adoption strategy where it should be used for with 100% of the employees, so that the expense can be cut down for travel costs. Okay, and the next thing is, how will I reschedule? Okay, like when I am changing my current thing, like what happens to the existing meetings? How will I reschedule? How do I minimize the impact on the users? So how will I minimize the security risk? I have implemented a lot of securities in my previous product, but if I am changing the new product where the security AES and DES algorithm are obsolete, and I want to transfer to a new encryption algorithm which the new things is not supporting it, and then what will I do? So all these things needs to be considered. Okay, so this is all about I have just given a brief thing while you are selecting the conferencing facility for your organization. You know, what are the parameters that you need to take into consideration? So what are all the functional parameters, and what are all the technical parameters, and what are all the security parameters that you need to look into while you are choosing the right product for your organization. And we have helped you enjoyed this session, and if you have any questions, you can contact us on the email below. And happy choosing for the right conferencing facility. Thank you all.